Proton is one of the largest privacy companies in the world, with a central suite including email, VPN, drive storage, and calendar, knocking right on Google's door. In this review, I'll cover privacy and security of Proton, what I love about each service, but also what drives me a little crazy. This will be a longer review given there are numerous services, and I've been in this ecosystem since 2017, so lots of experiences to share. I'd argue Proton Mail is the most developed service. Against Gmail, you're getting a quality interface, several advanced features, and good search functionality. Desktop is all web-based, likely similar to how most people use Gmail. iOS and Android have native apps, which I have gripes with, but I'll cover that later. The free plan is generous, the UI is solid, there are attractive privacy and security features, and just to top it off, switching from Gmail is easy to do. Overall, great stuff, but not perfect.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
First, you have to use their clients, unless A, you're on desktop, and B, you pay Proton to use their bridge, which I don't think should be paywalled. Second, Proton's themes look great, but as someone who switches between light and dark theme automatically, it's silly for Proton to not have a system theme option, especially when their apps have this, opening the discussion on client consistency, which we'll cover later in the video. Another missing feature is templates. Most emails we receive can be responded to with 5 or so copy-paste templates, and it's weird that such a simple feature isn't there, especially when it's found by one of their competitors, Tutanota. My next complaint is their iPad application, which has no optimization for the iPadOS ecosystem. It's literally just a blown up version of the iOS app. I'd argue it's probably nicer to use the web client on an iPad than the actual app. So it'll integrate with Apple's focus settings, like Do Not Disturb and any other focus settings that you develop. So this is really cool.
It'll behave exactly like an app, but it'll be better for your privacy. That's awesome.
Exactly. And anyone who knows me knows I'm always, like, I only use web apps when I can. Like, I almost always avoid, like, installing anything on my phones. Everything's a web app. Note-taking, web app. Duolingo, web app. Dating, web app. Everything's a web app. Can't stand apps. First question comes from Richard, who asks, how much does Google know about you if you use, say, Google Maps in the browser or the Google Apps, Spaces, G Suite, whatever they call it? Thank you. So what Richard is asking here is if you're using Google services, and this actually doesn't just apply to Google, it applies to any maybe more invasive company that you keep inside of your browser. I think it's maybe easier to answer what the web apps provide you that the apps don't. So web apps will ensure that these apps don't have direct access to your operating system, so they can't access things like your microphone, your notifications, and basic information about your device. All it can access is whatever your browser is able to share with them. You benefit from any tracking protection that's done inside of your browsers, which I hope that your browsers in 2023 do that. They benefit from any other privacy and security features that your browser provides, like fingerprinting protection. It also offers a layer of security because now you're not running the app natively on your phone where it has direct access to the operating system. You're running it inside your web browser, so something would have to bypass the web browser and then your operating system to do any damage. And now to more directly answer your question, what Google knows about you. If you're logged in to your Google account, well, it's all tied to your Google account. If you have some kind of incognito window, you're clearing cookies, clearing cache, and Google isn't able to directly tie any data together, then it's a pretty fresh window, and it's pretty much limited to whatever data you directly give them. So for example, if you open a private window with something like Brave on iOS and you open Google Maps, Google will be able to see, obviously, that you're typing in how do you get from here to here, different things that you type in. They might see basic browser information, but outside of that, it's pretty well protected, especially if you're using a VPN. They can't even get an IP address on you. I am a very big proponent of progressive web apps, and it's only getting better with time. Apple is now really having to open up progressive web apps due to the EU regulation. So it's very exciting to see web apps start to get more and more love over the years because they're a very powerful tool that can be used for privacy and security. To answer your question, if you're logged into your Google account, they can correlate things to your Google account. And if you're logged into a fresh browser window, it's possible they could try to tie the browsers together. Like, oh, we noticed that this is the same browser, same fingerprint, blah, blah, blah. But your browser might have protections against that. So I would say you're fairly well protected in a good browser that's protecting your privacy and security and using web apps. My final major complaint is how Proton Mail handles multiple accounts on the web. To switch between accounts, you leave the main UI to enter the account switcher, then select a different account, which is wildly inconvenient. All accounts should just be listed in one place, just copy the mobile apps. Despite my complaints, I actually enjoy using Proton Mail. It looks nice, it's functional, and I think it's pretty low sacrifice all things considered, which is impressive given there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Now, besides Proton Mail, there's Proton VPN. In our VPN toolkit, it performs well, offering one of the most trustworthy VPNs on the market from a privacy and security standpoint. Usability-wise, the clients are okay. There's no real custom DNS support for things like NextDNS, and I just generally feel like since they released WireGuard, there's been little evolution. I also never had great speeds with Proton. It's these reasons I probably wouldn't go out of my way to buy Proton VPN. Moving to Proton Drive. It delivers on the privacy and security, but the usability is more comparable to an SD card online than an actual cloud provider. Because, first, there's no collaboration or doc editing, which is fine, but compared to Google Drive, that's a huge loss. In Proton's defense though, most cloud providers don't offer this. Second, no desktop clients, meaning you can't directly sync with your local files. Proton said there'd be desktop clients before 2023, but here we are, several months into 2023, with nothing. Third, Proton advertises no max file sizes, but after extensive testing, this is not true. Why this happens is because web-based applications have limitations, especially with a zero-knowledge provider like Proton Drive that has to decrypt and encrypt every file, especially on low-power devices. I love web-based stuff. Everything I use is web-based. I can't stand local programs and applications. I'm a web-based shill for sure. I love things that are web-based. Their website says Proton Drive has no size limit on shared files. Another one says your recipients can download your file, regardless of its size or format, using the secure link. No, you can't guarantee that. So stop saying it. Fourth reason why Proton Drive is kind of problematic, Proton doesn't integrate Drive with the ecosystem. Why, when I send an email and click attach file, can I not directly attach a Proton Drive file? And why is there no way to just email a file to a contact directly in Proton Drive? It feels like they rushed out Drive without making it a fully featured product to the user. Proton has hinted they plan on making this better, but I have to ask why they released it in the first place when it feels like a beta service. Proton Calendar's next, and similar to Mail, I think it's actually solid. And unlike Drive, Calendar is somewhat integrated into Proton's ecosystem, where if someone emails you an invite to something, you can just directly add it to your calendar. Bravo! My general complaint with the calendar is speed. It can feel slow, though I try to be understanding that this is all zero knowledge and much more complicated to run at fast speeds than what Google does. The apps are nice, though can feel limited and a bit clunky to use, but you know what? If me, the person who plans every minute of their day, isn't too upset over this, the second misunderstood area is end-to-end encryption. If you email someone else that uses Proton, you'll have end-to-end encryption, end of story, secure email. If the other user doesn't use Proton, you have two options. The first is Proton's password feature, where you send someone a password-protected email, which can even self-destruct, then use a secure communication method to send the password. I use this all the time as it's super user-friendly. The second option is PGP, which Proton supports beautifully. So addressing concerns that Proton is only end-to-end encryption for other Proton users, which is a common misconception, that's just not true. There are three options to use Proton Mail with end-to-end encryption, two of which don't require the other user to even use Proton. Third point for privacy and security, while Proton does have mitigations in place to prevent abuse, which sometimes leads to issues, they overall have a private sign-up process, even offering a Tor site you can use to register, which offers a whole new level of privacy when registering for a service. Fourth, aside from Proton knowing little about you and giving you tools to communicate securely, these are a few extra nice-to-haves, like they safely proxy images in your emails. They block trackers in your emails. They offer U2F, though I do wish this was supported in mobile. So no, Proton is not perfect and they can't guarantee perfect privacy, but they do a great job at offering better protection than almost all email providers on the market, and they're not given enough credit for that. I think people have unrealistic expectations for what an email provider can give them. Now, while privacy and security, I would say, is Proton's strength, let's talk about their weakness. Feature parity. What is feature parity, you ask? It's releasing features consistently across clients so users get a similar experience on every device. Proton released a new, much improved interface in June 2021 for the web clients, but this didn't hit their Android application until January 2022. Then, their iOS app kept the old interface until April 2022, meaning it took Proton 10 months to roll out a new UI across their ecosystem. Proton Calendar was released for web to the public in June 2021, then the Android app was released to the public in April 2022, then the iPad app was released in November, pretty much December 2022, meaning it took Proton about 18 months to roll out their calendar to all users. So I want to like everything about Proton. And there's a lot that I do like, but it's far from perfect. I think Proton Mail and Proton Calendar are their most robust offerings. Proton VPN is fine, but feels neglected, and Proton Drive feels like it should have never been released in its current state. Regarding their integration and the general approach Proton has taken to development, I would expect better from one of the largest companies in the privacy space. Now, what Proton knocks out of left field is privacy and security. They're not perfect, Individually, these services do overall well, but as an ecosystem being compared to something like Google's ecosystem, I'm kind of disappointed. But still, no one's doing what Proton's doing as well as Proton's doing Proton, and that deserves a pat in the back, and hopefully the community does a better job of appreciating what Proton brings to the community. If you're looking to switch to the Proton suite, or you want to buy it or whatever, and you enjoyed this review, we have an affiliate link down below that you can use to directly support us and keep us growing and pushing out more reviews and content like this. They take a ton of time to do, and we simply can't do them without your support.